with upcoming events, okay?
Give it another moment.
Okay.
There you go. You're live.
Okay, good morning. Today is Friday, February 20th, 2026. And I'm Delegate Edith Patterson. I'm delighted to welcome you to our 53rd day left in the session for this General Assembly. To the Southern Maryland delegation meeting. And again, welcome. We have a very full and informative meeting for you today. And before we do that, I'm going to ask if Delegate Todd Morgan would offer the Pledge of Allegiance.
I will. Thank you, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Delegate Morgan.
Thank you, Madam
And
Chair.
you certainly are welcome. And Delegate Long, we will offer prayer. We appreciate your diligence and your spiritual guidance. Delegate Long.
Bless you. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, for this is still the day you've made, although rainy. We thank you for the liquid sunshine. We thank you for protection, provision, and for being with us as we work on behalf of every Marylander. We ask that you would bless us today, order our steps. We'll give you name, the glory, all the honor, and the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so very much. Before we move on, I'd like to wish Delegate C.T. Wilson a happy birthday. February 20th is his birthday, and a personal privilege to say also February 20th is the Vice President of the Charles County Commissioner, Ralph Patterson. So happy birthday to him as well. As I stated before, we're really delighted to have with us members of our federal delegation, as well as Congressman Hoyer, as well as our esteemed comptroller, both of whom have been loyal supporters and advocates for the citizens of Maryland, and more importantly, for those of us who are in the General Assembly. Please give me some sense if Congressman Hoyer is here.
He should be on in a few minutes. You
All
can
right.
moving through your agenda.
Why don't we do this? I want to offer that there are several announcements that are offered. One is a Southern Maryland delegation, which will be held on the 26th of this month. This year is at the Calvert House and not at the Graduate. But it will have the same kind of flavor with the food, the entertainment, and most of all, citizens from Charles County coming up to celebrate with us in Annapolis. This year, I believe there are some changes, and one is that there will be not only the change, but also the time. It's Monday. I'm sorry, we're doing two things. Southern Maryland delegation reception is at the Calvert House, 6:30 at the Calvert House. And then we have District 28, which is March the 2nd, from 6 until 8 o'clock, and that will be in the Lowe's building.
Hi, babe, I'm
here.
on a Zoom.
All right. Well, Congressman Hoyer, we've been doing some fillers, but certainly delighted to know that you're here with us. And I don't believe you need an introduction, but simply to say we appreciate your taking the time to offer information, insights in terms of what's going on in Congress, in the House of Representatives, as well as in the Senate. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Edith. Madam Chair, glad to be with all of you in Southern Maryland. I'm in rainy Southern Maryland. I don't know what it's doing in Annapolis, but we're having a lot of rain down here. And I'm very pleased to be with you. I was with the Prince George's delegation some days ago, but I'm glad to be with the home folks. So let me go briefly into what we're doing, and if you have any questions. But First of all, I think obviously the biggest thing confronting us right now is that we have a shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. That shutdown results from, as all of you know, the actions of the ICE, not only in Minneapolis, but around the country in terms of its assault on people, American citizens, warrantless arrests, and breaking into homes, not wearing masks or wearing masks, contrary to what is the practice in all of our police departments in the state of Maryland and frankly, the United States of America. Selectively, it may be okay, but it needs to be not the rule. Using extraordinary weapons against U.S. citizens and Americans. And frankly, on the presentation of dealing with the most dangerous people in America, 95% of those who are being accosted, arrested, having the Constitution threatened and overcome by these officers, the ICE and Customs continue to act as if they are essentially Trump's troops, and that's not what they are. The gentleman who was sent out to Minneapolis to quell the it's hard to explain what was happening in Minneapolis, but the assault on the people of and not only those who were here unauthorized, but generally speaking, on people who were demonstrating peacefully within the Constitution, and is unacceptable. So we have the only tool we have available to us is to act to defund or not fund until such time as reforms are put in place and conduct is consistent with police actions all over this country within the Constitution and laws of our state and nation. We're not going to fund them, which I think is appropriate. However, I have a bill in with Rosa DeLauro, the ranking member of the Appropriations Committee, to fund all other components of the Homeland Security. Now, they're very substantial, FEMA being one of them. We ought to fund that. We ought to fund it now. We ought to fund it Monday when we go back into session. The Coast Guard. Obviously, we need to fund the Coast Guard. The Transportation Safety Administration, TSA. We need to fund that. And there is no controversy about funding that. The Secret Service, no controversy about that. We're affecting 250,000 employees. Now, there are about hundreds of thousands of employees within ICE and Customs itself, but the overwhelming majority of the employees are within the Homeland Security, ought to be funded. And I'm on legislation to do that, and hopefully we'll do it at the beginning of the week. We'll see. In addition to that, of course, we have a huge spillage of sewage, as you know, into Potomac River. That's going to be obviously of significant concern to those of us at the federal level, those of us at the state level, and obviously the local level as well. It's going to take a team effort to respond to this. The mayor has already asked for 100% funding of this effort. We'll be working with the jurisdictions surrounding and adjacent to the Potomac River. Obviously, from Southern Maryland standpoint, our watermen are going to be affected. Our fishery is going to be affected. And this will be a major, I think, focus for all of us in the coming months. In addition to that, I am focused on the FBI. As you know, we were awarded the FBI site by the General Services Administration in the last administration. That was after a long, protracted, starting in 2009, which is when I started with it, competition between ourselves and Virginia. We won that competition. We won it correctly, honestly. And the IG looked at everything, said it was done properly. And unfortunately, when Trump was elected, we all know his animus towards the FBI specifically, and a number of the FBI directors as well. And he's canceled or is trying to cancel. Now, the legislation says that the FBI will go to the sites selected by GSA. That is still in law. And as you know, Anthony Brown, our Attorney General, has a suit on that issue. This is a major, major concern for us. And I'm not giving up. I don't want anybody in Maryland to give up. As you know, Governor Hogan was very much for this project. The two senators, the delegates, the senators, state senators, all of you were helpful in participating in funding to facilitate the FBI coming to Maryland. So we're still fighting that. I've been meeting over the last 2 months with all the Republican members of subcommittees who impact this decision. So I'm not giving up. We're going to be working this and the administration's proposal to take the FBI and put it into the Reagan building. Some of you have been on 14th Street. You've been by the Reagan building, one of the busiest streets in America. And it's absurd. The Reagan building, as Ronald Reagan said, was designed as a public-private building. In other words, a lot of public access to that building. You can get from the Metro tunnel and subway station into the Reagan building without going outside. So it is very vulnerable to attack. Some of you will recall the Murrah building bombing in Oklahoma City in 1995. 168 people were killed. Over 800 people were injured. Scores of buildings were damaged, and additional to the Murrah building, and many children in the child care center in the Murrah building were killed. Director Mueller said, let's get us off Pennsylvania Avenue. Let's get us into a suburban setting. And what I've told these the Republicans who are going to be impacting this decision, almost every security agency is located in a suburban location. NSA, of course, at Fort Meade. Other security agencies at Bolling Air Force Base. The CIA has a campus in Virginia. So that they're dispersed and they're on limited access property to protect them from attack by terrorists or, as you know, in Oklahoma's case, it was a single individual, McVeigh, who created the carnage that he did. So we're still fighting this. I've also gotten, over the last year, and as now in law, a number of earmarks or community projects, as we euphemistically refer them to them, for Southern Maryland, in MedStar Southern Maryland Hospital, Calvert Memorial, MedStar St. Mary's Hospital, Charles County Sheriff's Office, 2 for the town of Indian Head, totaling almost $2 million for their lift station and for their well house design and construction. YMCA, I know some of you are very focused on that YMCA project we have in St. Mary's County. And we've got money for the Housing Authority in St. Mary's County. So we're continuing to make sure that we are get some of the projects in St. Mary's County, in Charles County, and Calvert County that are so important to us, help fund them. By the way, hi, Brooke. I just see you came on the screen.
Good morning. I'm going to go right after you.
Thanks for the extraordinary job that you're doing.
Thanks.
Let me wrap it up there. There are obviously a lot of other things going on. The president's going to give a State of the Union on Tuesday. We'll see what he has to say. But very frankly, if we do not get this issue resolved where we have ICE operating in a constitutional, law-abiding fashion, dealing with people and focusing, as the president has said, he always says the worst of the worst. That's 5% of the people that they're taking into custody. Do they need to enforce the law? Of course they do. But the fact of the matter is they need to enforce the law within the Constitution and statutes of our state and country. So with that, let me stop. And thank you for this opportunity, and see if anybody has any questions.
Well, thank you so very much, Congressman Hoyer. You've offered a lot. I appreciate that, and particularly about the earmarks, but most of all that we know from your presentation today that you're fighting really hard for Southern Maryland, and not only for Southern Maryland, but for the entire U.S.
Thank you, Edith.
You're certainly welcome. I see the hand,
Hey,
question
Jeff.
from Delegate Long and then Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you so much, Congressman, for being with us. First, allow me to say, as a young man that have observed you from my days working for Senator Miller, I appreciate your service and all that you've done for Maryland and for, of course, Southern Maryland. I heard you mention earmarks. Just wanted to see if there was anything you had about Calvert. And I know when we did that visit and the beach with the rod and reel.
We're working on that, Jeff. They're working on, because
Okay.
we obviously they've lost, I don't know how many slips, but a lot of slips. We still need to fix that breakwater, and we're working on that. But and hopefully in this cycle, we'll be able to get some funds to help get that done.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations again, everything.
Very important project. And by the way,
Yes,
if you haven't been to the Rod and Reel, I imagine all of you have been to the Rod and Reel, but what an extraordinary, I first went to the Rod and Reel in 1956. That was a little bit of time ago, long before, Jeff, you were born, and some of the rest of you were born.
40 years later.
Yeah, right. I've seen it grow, and what Gerald Donovan and the Donovan family have done is just extraordinary. It's a wonderful facility for the community, not just for Calvert County, but for the entire Southern Maryland region and the state. Brooke is smiling.
It's a great place. It's a lot of fun, and Wes is amazing. The whole Donovan family is amazing.
Arthur?
All right, Senator Ellis.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Senator.
I want to thank you for your service. I want to say that publicly. I want to thank you also for your kind words as I try to change the trajectory in the Senate of Maryland to really stand up to the major challenge we have with the Trump and his allies trying to take away all our Democratic seats across the nation. And I really appreciate your kind words and your support with that. I just want to know a couple questions, one on the redistricting. So you are Congressman over the entire 5th district. We have several senators in your district who are remaining silent here in the Senate of Maryland. I want to know if anything we can do, you can do to help out to get them off the silent bench. They're in favor of it, but they remain silent. What's your take on that? As a former, I know it was a while ago, you're a Senate president. How can we kind of light them up to come forward? Because I believe if we get that bill on the Senate floor, they will vote for it and it will pass to redistrict. So any suggestions as far as what we can do to really kind of get them to be more vocal?
It's chaos and confrontation, which is unnecessary and inappropriate. I don't believe that we should.
You froze earlier, so we missed the first part of what you said.
Oh, I froze.
Well,
Okay, let me start, Senator, with the proposition that I think redistricting in midterm, that is halfway through the cycle of the decennial census, is chaotic. It creates confrontation and it creates confusion among our citizens. I think it is not a good practice. Having said that, President Trump started this effort and called people around the country and said, I want to redistrict, and I want to redistrict now. By the way, the precedent for that was Tom DeLay of Texas, who did this in the 90s and eliminated a lot of Democratic districts in Texas and was successful in that effort ultimately. So Texas is not unused to doing the bidding of the president or the bidding of national Republicans, excuse me. I think that ought not to be done. But once it was done, obviously, we could have sat back and seen, and Florida is on the path to do the same thing. We could have sat back and said, well, we don't agree with this process. That may be true, but we don't agree with having the people's will subverted by the redistricting that is occurring in Texas, where they tried to cut out 5 Democratic seats. Very frankly, we needed to respond. The delegation agreed that we needed to respond, the congressional delegation. The national leadership, Democratic leadership, said we ought to respond. Eric Holder, who heads up a redistricting effort for on a bipartisan basis, said we needed to respond, and we agreed. And so the delegation met, talked, wrote a letter to the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, said we think that we ought to proceed to do the redistricting. It is not it's not what we wanted to do. It is what we are forced to do by what the Republicans are doing around the country. Now, they're not doing it everywhere, but they're doing it in a way that will undermine the people's will, in my opinion, of the majority of the people in this country. California responded. The people voted in California overwhelmingly 2-1 to proceed and to respond defensively to the actions that were being taken. So I'm hopeful that the House has acted overwhelmingly. I think there was only one Democrat that didn't vote for it. I understand the Republicans voting against it. That made sense from their standpoint. And now the Senate has it before it. And I would hope that the Senate would take it up and vote on it. And as you point out, Senator, I think the majority of senators, I haven't talked to all of them, I haven't whipped this, feel that it's something that would be appropriate to respond to the efforts that are being made in Texas, Missouri, North Carolina, Florida, other places.
Great. Thank you very, very much.
So, Madam Chair, one quick question. So my
Yes.
initial question, how suggestion do you have for us as far as getting the other senators that's in your congressional district? Maybe we can talk offline with this. Get them to kind of become more vocal with their quiet position. Maybe
Well, Senator, I have certainly not been quiet, as you know.
No,
I've
not
written
you,
a
but the
letter.
other senators.
Well, I understand that. And I've urged the Senate to take this bill up. The governor's urged that. The House has passed it overwhelmingly. And if it's defeated, it's defeated. But I think the appropriate thing to do would be to put it on the floor, as has happened in many, many other states, and proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And one last quick question, Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, please.
Okay, so as far as earmarks, so we have several priorities in Charles County. One of them, we're trying to do the sports and wellness center in Waldorf. The county, Charles County, has put in almost 50 million in that. They need around 40 more million for the earmarks. We're trying to get some millions this year for that. And of course, we have part of that process is a Boys and Girls Club in Waldorf. And I've put in several $1 million in the kitty for that. We need several more. Is it possible to kind of get some of these projects on the earmark list, or is it too late for this term?
No, it's not too late. It's not too late at all, Senator. And we'll take those into consideration. Now, I will tell you, earmarks have been authorized, but severely limited. And of course, the fact that the Republicans are in charge, and this is not unusual, the split has been essentially 2-1 So the earmarks on the Democratic side are more restricted. And that's, I want to make it clear, that's not unusual. When we were in charge, there was a split our way as opposed to a split their way. So both parties have done that. But I will certainly consider those. You know, we have a YMCA project in St. Mary's County that's moving along very well and be a great facility. And we did get money for that. And we'll look at the one in Charles County because we really need to have recreational activities for not only our young people, but for us seniors, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you very much, Congressman Hoyer. And thank you, Michelle Schultz, for working with us. And if you would provide the earmarks that were cited so that we can include it in our bi-monthly newsletter.
Well,
thank you again,
thank you.
Congressman.
We'll send it to you today.
All right, great.
Good to see all of you. Thank you very much.
Take care. And continue to do great works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Members, we've been joined also by the Comptroller of Maryland. This is her season. This is her season. And yep, it is. And we're certainly delighted that you're taking time to be with us and to offer insights, okay?
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I'm going to skip through some of these slides to let you know what we're working on. And then we'll share the whole deck with you to go through and follow up with any questions because I do have a hard stop. So we're going to, and Jace Peterkin is on with me from our government affairs team. But good morning and thanks for the opportunity. So this is our org chart. As you can see, we have several different departments. We have revenue operations and accounting. We have public engagement and communications, which doesn't just include sort of like, you know, that's not, you think of it as social media, but this also means like publishing our ACFR, putting together forms and publishing tax forms. Like that is also communications. We have our policy, public works and investment team. Which does, of course, support of public works, the research reports we do, and field enforcement, hearings and appeals, legal, unclaimed property, central payroll. We sign all your paychecks and more. So next slide. This is our vision statement to work in partnership to create a state that's more equitable, more resilient, and more prosperous so that every Marylander can reach their full potential. And underneath, you'll see our 3 core priorities, and those core priorities really dictate everything we do. 1, make government work better. 2, ensure the resources of our agency reach all of your constituents, right? Reach the people of Maryland and the small businesses. And 3, ensure Maryland's well-positioned for responsible long-term economic growth and success. Next slide. So we want to talk a little bit about sort of some of the things we do. This is sort of a quick roll overview. I think most of you know by now some of the things that we work on. Next slide. And then sort of go through a few of those things in a little bit more detail. Next slide. Okay. So here's by the numbers. Sorry, go back one. By the numbers, this is where we are as revenue administrator. We serve 3.2 million individual taxpayers. They submit more than 5.8 million returns and payments every year. And then also another 500,000 businesses paying various taxes and fees. You know, if you think about it, the Comptroller of Maryland, we really touch more Marylanders than any other agency. And we do our best to do that with a small and hearty staff. Next slide. Okay, we also administer unclaimed property. And as many of you may know, we launched a brand new unclaimed property website in October, making it easier than ever for residents to reclaim their lost assets. Folks can submit documentation electronically, check the status of their claims, view information and more 24/7. The site that we now have is the same site that 40 other states use. So it is really, it's best in class. And we're really proud. I'm really proud to have brought this to Maryland. It's a much better system than what we had before. It's accessible, easy to use, and it's going to be much better for our staff and much better for Marylanders. Next slide. We also are very focused for the first time in our agency's history on sharing the data that we have with you. We have started publishing reports. We have a team of 2 people doing this, so it's not very big, but we work really hard to bring informative reports based on the data that we have and qualitative data that we collect around the states to you all. So you know about our State of the Economy series. Last year, we published 3 reports on different ways that we spend money and some other policy research as well, including the impact of the federal government spending on Maryland's economy, which of course is huge for the districts that you represent. And I should add, we also now have dashboards. Thank you. We have a federal spending dashboard as well. This was launched in January, and you can go online, look up this dashboard and put in information, and it will spit out sort of the ramifications of federal job cuts and decisions. So that is for many of your counties to use, their CFOs, for you to have to use, but we hope that this is a benefit to everybody who's trying to do more forecasting. We also have the Com360 dashboard, which can show you if you can sort of zero in on your county and see how many folks are claiming different types of tax credits and getting their refunds. And working with the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland, we supported legislation to create this Board of Public Works dashboard. We launched it last year, and now we're populating it with information so that folks can go in and search for contracts and understand what the BPW is doing in a more transparent way. So thank you for your efforts on that. Next slide. We're very focused on modernizing. As you know, this has been the core focus of my first term, is making sure that we get into systems that are more usable and that will last long after I'm gone. Everything I inherited looks like that bottom left screen, COBOL screens. We are moving to that top left screen, right? More modern cloud-based screens to make it more accessible, easier to use, and just to create a stronger platform for, this is the state's entire financial system. It undergirds everything that you all do. You don't see it, but it's always there, like holding it all together, and we want to make sure it's secure and stable. Next slide. We also launched the Office of Taxpayer Advocate to help with more long-term systemic issues and to make sure that we are improving all of our processes. Next slide. Okay, so I wanted to just give a little bit of information about some of the things we've seen come through in Calvert County. This has come through the Board of Public Works, a grant to support renovation and expansion of the Calvert Pines Senior Center. There's been program open space dollars in Charles. We've seen, over $3.5 million in funding come through the Board of Public Works, including a Charles County allocation as part of broader county budget approvals. And then in St. Mary's as well, we've had recreational, land, conservation grants, and, capital grants as well. Next slide. Here are a few other things that that have come through. Just wanted to make sure these are on your radar. Many of these are bills that bond bills that you pass that have been working their way through. Next slide. We also have Cheryl Thorne is our Regional Public Engagement Officer for Southern Maryland. Nicole Johnson is our Regional Public Engagement Officer for Prince George's County. And so Cheryl's been really hit the ground running last year when she started, attending events, engaging with many of your constituents to make sure that they have the resources they need to learn about unclaimed property, about how to file their tax returns, what the earned income tax credit is, how to do business with the state, what the procurement process is, and more. So we're really just trying to bring the resource of the agency to you all and to the people of Maryland in any way that we can. I was also thrilled to attend the Fall Roundtable hosted by Delegate Patterson and Delegate Wilson and Senator Ellis and others. And it was it was a great event. Delegate Davis, it's been great to see you at events, and Delegate Long and others. Delegate Morgan, saw you at a chamber event in Southern Maryland. So it's great to see you all. I try to get to your districts as much as I can to be supportive of the work that you're doing and of our small businesses and communities. Next slide. So I just thought I'd really briefly, here's where we are by the numbers. This is a little bit of more information on where money goes that we are bringing in. These are some of the different fees and taxes that we bring in and how much we've brought in FY25. I think this is yep, this is all complete, and where we distribute it. So those are just, we are in charge not only of bringing it in, but then making sure it's, held in a special fund and then distributed appropriately. Next slide. We are meeting our revenue estimates, which is a good thing. We did lower those estimates though in December of 2024. We incorporated and anticipated, government employment reductions. But then those lowered estimates, we are meeting them, which is a positive, thing. We haven't had any write-downs since December 2024 because we recalibrated our expectations appropriately. I'm very hopeful that we won't have a write-down in March either. In December, we had a little bit of a write-up. It was tiny, but it was there. So, we're hopeful that our budget numbers will hold so that you all don't have to do major cuts in March and April above what you already need to do. Next slide. There are a lot of uncertainties in our forecast. This is the first time in decades that we've seen both federal tax changes and state tax changes the same year. And that just impacts behavior and impacts how people pay and how they spend and what they do. And so it can be challenging to make accurate forecasts. Next slide. This is big. So we are moving our entire personal tax system in August. This will be the largest IT transformation the state has seen in many, many years. It is a really big deal. There is so much data that it will take us days and days and days to move the data from the mainframe through the fiber into the cloud, the new cloud system we have. Just that simple running of the data. There's so much it'll take over a week to move data 24/7. So August is when we have to do this. We've been working really hard for the past year and a half to get to the place where we'll be ready. But this is, really why when you've heard me say like we can't, we have limited capacity to do more this year, it's because we are so focused on moving this system. And the same people who are running tax season right now are also working to get us into this new system in August. So we're very focused on this. Look, all major systems, there's always going to be little hiccups along the way. But that's part of the reason we do it in August, to make sure we can clear some of those and make sure everything's ready to go by next January when the bulk of people start filing their tax returns. So we'll have more information on this for you, but it's important. And then finally, these are all the things that we're working on this year. We're also migrating our entire central payroll system to Workday. We're opening new branch offices in Bel Air, in Rockville, and in Frederick. Of course, we have a branch office in Waldorf. It's not going anywhere. And continuing to work on our research reports. So we can close it out there. And happy to take a quick question if there's any, and we'll send this over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Controller Learman. And I know that you had a quick stop, so thank you very much for hanging in there with us. Senator Ellis, you have a question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Controller, for your leadership. I just want to say two comments. One, Maryland having currently a system based on the COBOL language. I just want to say, when I was a young Air Force officer in 1980, early 80s, the Air Force, I was in a large IT system. We were phasing out COBOL back then in 1980.
I'm sure you were.
We had one guy, one gentleman,
Yeah.
elderly gentleman, on staff to maintain the last piece of the legacy system. This is back in 83, right?
Yeah.
And now Maryland is finally, so thank you for your leadership and really getting that done.
Yeah.
And also on a personal note, my wife and I, we did our taxes and we got our refund in like a couple of days. So
Yay,
thank you
great.
very much. I appreciate that. And I know you're not giving this center special treatment because it's
Nope,
always,
I don't even
yeah.
see it.
Well, thank you for your leadership. And I know it's a tough job, but we really appreciate the good job you're doing. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thanks. I appreciate the support from all of you. And, it's the teamwork, making government work better. We're all in it together for our constituents. And so really appreciate all of you. Delegate Odom, I look forward to working with you more as well. But thank you. It's great to see you all.
Absolutely, Madam Comptroller. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we always learn a lot from your presentations. Thank you again. Have a
Have a
great
good one.
morning.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
All right, and on the last part of our agenda is the Department of Legislative Services state aid briefing, and we're going to have Ono Aju, the Senior Policy Analyst. Ono, are you on?
Yes. Good
Oh, thank
morning,
you.
Madam Chair and
Good
members
morning.
of the, how are you? In the interest of time, I'll provide a high-level overview of the state aid to the Southern Maryland delegation counties, covering the overall level of state support and the governor's proposed enhancements and reductions to state aid and their impacts on the counties. We have shared our overview report with you for you to review at your leisure, and we also prepared and shared a 6-page summary report detailing state aid funding across all major categories. Just please note that all our figures in our reports reflect the governor's proposed budget. I'm going to be sharing my screen and beginning on page 4 of our report. Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's counties will receive a combined $686.5 million in state aid in fiscal 2027. Of this amount, approximately $619 million is direct aid, and these are funds that flow directly to units of local government, including county and municipal governments, public school systems, and local health departments. And an additional $67.5 million covers retirement contributions paid directly by the state to the retirement agency. On a per capita basis, state aid ranges from just over $1,000 in Talbot County to more than $3,300 in Baltimore City. Charles County is near the statewide average, ranking 9th highest in per capita, and St. Mary's and Calvert counties rank 15th and 16th, respectively, both below the statewide average. Now, page 5 illustrates the geographic distribution of per capita state support, and this varies across the state. Charles County falls in the 2nd highest funding bracket, while Calvert and St. Mary's are in the 3rd. And it's worth noting here that K-12 education funding constitutes the lion's share of state aid, and a significant portion is directed toward targeted student populations. And those are specifically the students eligible for free and reduced price meals, English language learners, and students receiving special education services. Calvert County, for example, has the lowest targeted student index in the state, and St. Mary's has the 5th lowest statewide, which is a key factor in their comparatively lower levels of per capita state aid. Moving to page 7. Page 7 breaks down funding by units of local government. And again, the vast majority flows to the public school systems, which receive collectively $562.1 million in direct aid. The 3 counties receive a combined $21.3 million in county and municipal aid. And this is comprised of mostly of police aid funding, highway user revenues, fire and rescue aid, and Calvert County also receives $3.2 million in instant bingo grants. The 3 counties also receive a combined $21.4 million in community college aid, while the College of Southern Maryland serves all 3 jurisdictions. Funding is allocated based on each county's share of full-time equivalent student enrollment. Page 9 shows the year-over-year changes in funding. And again, you can see that public school funding is driving the increases. County and municipal and library system funding have remained virtually constant. Charles County saw an increase in its share of College of Southern Maryland enrollment, while Calvert and St. Mary's counties experienced decreases in their respective shares, which accounts for the year-over-year decline in community college aid to these two counties. The three local health departments face a combined reduction of approximately $1.7 million. And statewide overall funding for local health departments remains unchanged at $115.2 million. And page 10 here shows you the percentage changes in funding, where the reductions to local health departments are particularly striking. Here you can see that Calvert County faces a 18.3% decrease, Charles County 10.9%, and St. Mary's County 11.6%. And this is part of a statewide issue affecting nearly all counties where local health departments are primarily staffed by state employees. And health department or local health department funding is determined by a core formula, which is adjusted annually for population growth and inflation. And in recent years, supplemental funding was provided to cover salary increases for state employees at these departments. And last year, during the 2025 session, budget language was enacted to restrict the growth solely to the core formula and not the salary adjustments as well. And the agency has since rebased its formula funding accordingly. And because overall funding remains flat, the reductions fall on the salaries. I do want to note, however, that DBM has since indicated that the budget includes FY27 COLAs. However, they have not yet disclosed the amount or how it will be distributed by jurisdiction. And it remains unclear whether that funding will fully offset these reductions. Now moving to the governor's proposals, page 11 summarizes the proposed enhancements and reductions in state aid. I want to highlight three major policy changes that are directly germane to your jurisdictions. First, the administration has applied a revised enrollment count for free and reduced price meals, increasing funding statewide by $228.4 million above statutory amounts. And this change affects compensatory aid, concentration of poverty, and education effort adjustments. Charles County benefits from this revision, receiving approximately $2.5 million above statutory amounts. However, Calvert and St. Mary's counties do not benefit from this revised enrollment count. The increases are primarily concentrated in Baltimore City, Prince George's County, and Montgomery County. Additional detail on this is included, can be accessed on page 61 of our report. And the second change I want to talk about or proposal is a provision in the Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act that would reduce community college CADE funding by approximately $21 million statewide by capping each institution's year-over-year increase at 3%. If approved by the General Assembly, this cap would remain in effect through fiscal 2029. And for the College of Southern Maryland, this provision would reduce funding by approximately $900,000 in fiscal 2027. Third, also contained in the Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act, local governments would be responsible for 50% of the statewide increase in retirement payments for teachers, community college faculty, and librarians. And this is also subject to General Assembly approval. Page 12 details how each of these proposed changes affect the three counties specifically. And finally, on page 13, this page provides additional information on the retirement cost shifts. And the state is shifting, like I said, 50% of the retirement payment increases to the local governments through uniform aid reductions. So 3.4% reduction was applied across each county for the public schools. 3.7% was applied for each county for the community colleges, and 2.7% reduction was applied uniformly statewide for the libraries in each county. So under this proposal, the three county governments would collectively be required to absorb approximately $2.4 million in additional retirement costs. And this is something that your counties are going to have to cover and pay. And this ends my presentation. We will be glad to meet with you should you have any other questions or want to meet with us. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Well, thank you very, very much. And I believe we have the report that you cited. It's very detailed and it's very insightful, particularly for our agencies, the community colleges. I'm sure we're getting responses from them as well as our county governments. Senator Ellis, I see your hand, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. A quick question. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Adja. So for the Community College of Southern Maryland, it's a Tri-County college, and funding goes to each county. Charles County being the largest, has the largest amount in terms tune of 400 plus million. So that's the formula based on the population. Does anyone track the actual spending of that money to make sure the funding at the college level flows to the people that it should go to? Is the college doing a job of keeping the money for Charles County in Charles County, for instance? And I'm kind of parochial in this role because I'm the Charles County senator at this time. Any tracking of the spending of the money to make sure it is kept for the intended purpose?
Okay, I can answer this question. Basically,
I'm sorry, introduce yourself, please.
I'm Hiram Birch with the Department of Legislative Services.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Birch.
Yeah, so basically how the funds go directly to the College of Southern Maryland. So how the funding works is the state aid goes to the College of Southern Maryland, and each of the county governments provide funding for their students to the College of Southern Maryland. So our report just basically allocates the funding based on the current student enrollment at the College of Southern Maryland. Just basically shows you basically the portion of the state money that's kind of related to the students that go to the College of Southern Maryland, but the funding goes directly to the College of Southern Maryland for the students that attend the College of Southern Maryland. Since it's a regional college, it's the students who are attending the College of Southern Maryland.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that clearly. My question specifically is, it's a surgical question. The funding is allocated per the population of each county. My question is, does the state track the spending of those funds to make sure it goes to the people that's allocated for?
The funding is not based on the county's population. The funding is based on the student enrollment count at the College of Southern Maryland.
Okay, sir, you are kind of quibbling me. Whether no matter what the metric is, okay, does the state track that the funding is used by the college based on the population that the funding was allocated for?
I think your question is, how does the College of Southern Maryland determine who the students are from? Do they select students?
No, that's not my question, sir. My question is, according to the chart, like $400+ million allocated for Charles County because of population. And my question is, does the state track that the money that's allocated for Charles County goes to Charles County, or does it go into the college budget and is spread out wherever it goes?
Okay.
Can you
So
answer that question? If not, I'll follow up.
I'm trying to answer the question.
Okay.
The money, like I said, the money for the College of Southern Maryland from the state goes to the College of Southern Maryland. What we have done in this report is we have taken the state aid that goes to the College of Southern Maryland, and we have allocated it so we can show that based on your current student enrollment, the share of students and College of Southern Maryland that live in Charles County, we take that percentage of the funds for the College of Southern Maryland and we allocate it to Charles County. So, for example, when the state, we break down the money for the College of Southern Maryland by county, just to give a proxy of how Charles County benefits from the College of Southern Maryland funding, like Prince George's County does. But since you reside in a regional college, the state sends the money directly to the regional college. We break down the funding, just kind of show you how much of that quote money is really kind of benefits Charles County.
Okay. And so I understand your question, and I'll follow up later in the interest of time because I did not get the answer. I want to know the answer. Basically,
I
yes,
think
we
we
track.
can.
And so
Okay.
basically, that's the answer. That's what we care about, that the money is properly allocated and that goes into the general pot and goes elsewhere. So that's my question. And I haven't received an answer today. And I'm a CPA. I understand finances, I understand the words. And basically, the words don't match the question and the numbers that you present. So I'll follow up later with you and to really get to the bottom of it. And we have to put in legislation to make sure we get the easy answer. Like the controller talked about that dashboard of the Black Caucus we pushed through. I was a sponsor of that legislation to put a dashboard so we get easy answers to these questions. And so basically, if we have to do a dashboard for Southern Maryland, I'll put that legislation in to make sure it gets there. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Senator Ellis. And yeah, let's do a follow-up with that as well. Are there any other questions? If not, I certainly want to thank everyone for being with us this morning and for the presenters. Thank you very much. We got a lot of information and we look forward to continuing the work with you. And thank you so much for your reports. This ends the meeting of Southern Maryland delegation.